There we go.
Awesome.
Do you have questions that you want to, or you just want to chat about the trip?
So I know a couple of questions that were asked were about the logistics of traveling. Um, I don't know. So it said on the itinerary,
Mhm.
pretty much show up whenever time on the first day.
Yeah.
Um, for us, looks like that first day is going to be the May 31st,
Mhm.
and that last day would be June 10th.
Yeah.
Um, is there any common practices that you recommend as far as like when you try to get there? Do you try to get there the day before one of those trips and stay the extra night, or is that kind of incorporated in the expectation for just in case on that day one?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. I think most people have a limited amount of PTO, so don't often want to do an extra day, but you totally can. On that first day, you get picked up like whatever time we'll coordinate airport pickup, and they'll help you through customs and like sorting out a visa or anything, any questions that you have, but somebody will be there to pick you up and bring you to the hotel so you don't have to worry about the logistics of that. If you do want to come in early, besides flying into Tangier the day before, you could also fly into Casablanca if those like potentially depending on the city you're coming from, those could be cheaper flights. And then there's like a 3 hour train from Casablanca and it's also a pretty cool city to see, but kind of ran out of time on it for this itinerary, but that's also an option. And I guess it depends on how confident you feel taking a train in Morocco, I suppose, if it's like your first in Africa, maybe not, but it would be fine to do that as well.
That's neat. Did you do you know anything about the train ride? If, like, is the train ride itself also kind of like a view thing, or is it just check out the city and then jump on a train and scoot?
It would be a nice ride for sure. Like the cool thing about Morocco is there's I think 7 microclimates. There's many microclimates. I think it's 7. So every like part of the country is different, which is cool that you get to experience seeing like cities in the desert and mountains all in one place. So lots of different landscapes to experience.
That is very interesting. Um, I think most of my questions were logistics related. So if anyone else has any questions that were not, maybe we jump into those too.
Activities.
Yeah.
Anything's good.
Before I touch on that, another thing people ask me a lot about is the first day and like how do I know where my group is or who it is? So we'll set up well, this one's up to you, Mitch, but I typically set up a group chat on WhatsApp since that's like
Mm.
a fairly universal platform that everybody has. But if you think there's something else that's better, if everyone in the group happens to have an iPhone, maybe iMessage, I don't know. But we'll set up a group chat, and anyone who like gets there early, you can let other people know that you're going early, or maybe coordinate like, oh, we should take the train together or get there early or whatever. And then depending on the time that you get there on day one, you could meet up with anybody who's already there. If not, or if you don't want to, or if you get there late, then we'll still use the group chat to set up any kind of like day-to-day logistics. So we'll say like, well, day one you get picked up. They'll have your name on a sign. Super easy. You get driven to the hotel, and then you'll be there. There will be Wi-Fi, so you'll be able to talk. You'll be able to chat in the group chat and like see what's going on.
Mm.
Um, Otherwise, then they'll tell you the local guide will be there. We'll meet you at the lobby for orientation on day two at 9 a.m. or whatever time they decide closer to the date. But so you don't have to worry about like trying to, go around looking for who could potentially be with you. So yeah, no one's ever had issues with that, so it'll be fine. And they've also
Sweet.
been able to kind of like find, they're like, oh, you look like you could be in my group. And like, they probably are.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think more than likely WhatsApp would probably be our main chat service also. I know that I'm pretty sure, yeah, I think everyone in here has been in at least one outsiders group chat for or WhatsApp group chat for outsiders. So that,
Those ones for me have been on Instagram, which is also fine. That works too sometimes, but
yeah.
yeah, whatever you want, doesn't matter. WhatsApp's also nice because I can put the guide in there or the
Mm.
whoever's on the ground, so they'll be able to answer any questions quickly or anything kind of throughout the trip as well. They typically don't have Instagram or anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's usually like we have our group chat until we get close, and then once we get our guide there, we add them. Is that kind of thing? Or
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll have like one manager who's the point of contact for the trip. So this one has different guides throughout the trip depending on their expertise and where they're located.
mm,
So there will be one main point of contact who's on the ground and can reach any guide along the way. Or if you're like, I don't know, you have a random question, if you're like, I don't feel well, where's the closest like doctor, how do I, or pharmacy or whatever, they can help as well. So any of those types of things along the way, uh, they'll be able to be there. And I'm always in the chats as well to help people out if there's anything like that going on. Or anything like silly, any not silly, but anything like less serious than a medical issue. But like if you're like, I want to buy like this specific souvenir, where can I get it? And they can tell you, or like, how much should I pay for this thing that I really want from Morocco? And they can tell you things like that as well from a local's perspective. So
that's cool.
I always encourage people to use the group chat as well before the trip. I know it can be hard to chat in a group full of people that you don't know. And for some people who are a bit more introverted, or they think that their question is silly and it's not. And probably if you have that question, somebody else does too. And I've had people message me separately similar questions. So I always try and encourage people to use the group chat because if you're thinking it, somebody else might be as well. And it also helps me provide better resources for people and for that trip and also for future ones where they're like, oh, like I didn't realize whatever about this. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's good to know that somebody was wondering about this, and now I can add that detail into um, the info packet. So everybody gets an info packet before the trip as well with literally everything. But I mean, if there's something missing, please tell me. But like currency, language, customs, like what you should be wearing, what you should pack for the trip, what to expect, like the climate, the weather, A to Z, Morocco.
All of the climates and all of the weather, correct?
Yeah. All the hotel names once like confirmed, everything like how to get your visa, how to like things to think about before, um, anything.
Sweet.
What was it about activities that we wanted to talk about?
What's on the plate? Talking beaches, mountains, cities, all the above.
Yeah. So you start in Tangier, and that's an older city. So there's walking tours. You can do shopping in the different markets. You'll see a lot of markets and temples, Medina. They've got a lot of different artisans who have been working at their craft for centuries. Fez is a city that's been around since like 700 something. So it's people describe it as it feels like it hasn't changed since that year. So you're literally walking through history. You get to see the Atlas Mountains and do a hike there, and the Sahara, the desert. So there's 2 days there. There's one free day in the desert as well. So you can do anything. There's different excursions like 4x4 excursions, camel rides, anything that you want to do. They'll have a bunch of different options of excursions that they do there. You can also chill at the camp and take in the desert views. So kind of all of those in between type things. There's a decent amount of driving, I would say. That's just the nature of Morocco. Any itinerary you look at has a fair amount of driving. I've tried to keep this one as like manageable as possible, where you can see as much of the country as you can in 11 days without having like 14-hour drives. So that's why we're doing 2 nights in the desert, where you'll see some itineraries do one, but like getting into the desert and out of the desert is also several hours. So you kind of get that. You can do a cooking class. There's a food,
Okay.
I like food stuff. You'll get to do like a mint tea experience, which is that's how they socialize in Morocco. People will meet over mint tea. So that's a big thing there. Chefchouen is the blue city that you've probably seen photos of. So you see that. A few of the places are important sites that you stop along the way also to break up the drive, but some of them have been used for as like filming sets. So they're important for different historical reasons and have also just been used in Hollywood movies. So yeah, a little bit of each of those.
Okay. Anything beach wise, like on the water, sailing, kayak? Um,
You can do an extension that I can help you book, or if you have enough people, Mitch, that are interested in doing the extension and have the time, you can do that. So that would take you onto the coast, and that would be like a beach town where you could do surfing, seafood,
okay.
all types of beach water activities. Yeah. So you could
Yeah,
extend, you could extend, or if you have enough people that want to do it, you can, you would just need like four, or you can extend on
mm,
your own.
yeah.
Okay.
Tim, I do believe I have at least one, potentially two other people who are looking at extending some other in other ways as well. So if that's something you're interested in, we can definitely go into more detail with that because I myself, we have not covered the extended. I have not personally looked at the extended stuff as in depth as I probably should have by this point. Um,
All
but
right.
it definitely sounds
Depending on
pretty
how
sweet.
your flights are, you could also go to the south of Spain and do like a beach thing there for a couple nights, or Portugal. They're both really close. So I don't know if your like routes going, if your flight's going through Europe, which most of them do, maybe you wanna do that. But there's like two towns on the coast of Morocco that are really good for surfing and beachy beach vibes.
All right.
It's really cool.
So something to chat about, yeah. I have the extension on the website. If you scroll down, you can see
Where was it at? 'Cause I'm down to the learn about the extension, but I don't.
the add-on 3-day extension, just a short description there.
This would be a lot easier if I'd make it full screen instead of scrolling sideways the whole time.
So this, the other one is Essaouira, which is a bit more touristy. So this one is less touristy, and you can do, yeah, you can just chill at the beach. There's a lot of different like seafood restaurants and cafes, beach cafes. You can do like jet skiing, kite surfing, surfing.
Where did you say the extension was? Because I'm at the thing and I'm still not
Under
seeing it.
included, under the included section. You don't see it?
No, I do not. Maybe that's why. Oh, never mind. It's there.
Oh, okay. Because like
It was.
sometimes it gets weird on mobile, and I
Yeah,
have to like move things around. But yeah.
yeah. I was looking for like a link to an extension, not like the extension
Oh
tab.
no, I don't have a link.
Yeah,
Just
no.
but we can chat more about it if you like or want to do that. Just structure it as an extension because 11 days is already a pretty long trip. So depending on people's situation, sometimes that's
Yeah.
like PTO you have. So they're able to do like a 15-day trip, but if you can, yeah, totally, totally an option.
Tim, any other questions for activities?
No, that's it for now. Just kind of figure things out, go with the flow, and
I'd
take
say
it from there.
this trip, if anyone's wondering, is not crazily like physically exerting. Not like there's you don't have to worry about anything like altitude, or there's no like multi-day treks. The hotels are all pretty nice. Like I guess the most boots on the ground part is glamping in the Sahara, but if you look up the place, it's quite nice. So there's no yeah no actual camping or multi-day hikes. I mean, if somebody's like not feeling the hike in the mountains as well, you don't have to do it. You can stay back. That day as well, the day in Marrakech, there's some free time if anybody wanted to do a hammam experience
Hmm.
option. Um,
How many miles or kilometers are we talking on hiking?
um, I would need to double check that, but it's like a morning thing, so just a few hours. And then you're back
Oh,
in Marrakesh in the afternoon. And along the way, you stop at one of the homes of a local that live in the mountains and you have tea with them. So it's not like a crazy exerting. hike, so
All right.
I wouldn't be too worried about it. I can find out the actual mileage on it. Um,
All right.
food restrictions all can be accommodated. I send out a questionnaire before the trip for everybody with your info packet, and everyone can put in their sleeping preferences and food dietary restrictions. And then I communicate that with the on the ground team. So any allergies or preferences can be handled before. And you can put like that you prefer to be with somebody who's, I don't know, an early riser because you like to wake up early, or um, sensitive sleeper or whatever. Also, there's an option to upgrade if you want your own room for anyone who's, some people who are more introverted and just want that space by themselves at night choose that option. Or if they're like a very sensitive sleeper and they know they're not going to get a good night's sleep if somebody is in the room with them, they'll choose that option. But otherwise, you'd be paired with another solo traveler, separate beds. People ask me that. Do not share a bed with somebody in case that was a question.
Hotel's a bunch of twin beds, I take it.
Yeah, they push them together.
Okay.
That's pretty much like everywhere except for the US, right? Am I wrong on that?
Separate beds.
Yeah. Well, like they just push the beds together and like if you want it, it's together, but if not, I just kind of like
Yeah, they're like I guess they're like a king or a queen size normally, and then if you're like, oh, we want two beds, they just separate them. Which is
well,
like,
like
I don't know how that would work if you were like sleeping in the middle, if it would like split.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like because when I was in Germany, that was everywhere we went had two like there was like a 6 inch gap consistently. I'm like, what's the point? Just either move them apart or keep them
Yeah.
together. I don't, but whatever.
I heard about this. I've never seen it, so I don't know if it's actually true, but there's a hostel in Amsterdam where if you book yourself a bed as a solo traveler, some of the bunk beds are like a double at the top and then a single at the bottom. So if you end up in the double, like there could be another solo traveler with you in the bed. And it's still
Interesting.
$100 a night or something because Amsterdam is just like crazy. You're like literally sharing a bed with somebody. So maybe
Well,
these are the types of things people have seen, and then they're like, "Oh, if I book this trip as a solo traveler, will I be sharing a bed?" You will not be sharing a bed. um, yeah, language barriers you don't have to worry about. You'll have somebody that's English speaking there. Free time as well throughout the. It's a pretty busy itinerary, I'd say, but you have some time to shop. A lot of people want to like buy stuff in Morocco, carpets, leather, leather. Um,
What is the language and the currency?
the language is Arabic. The currency,
Oh.
no, Arabic and French. So if anyone can speak a little bit of French, that's helpful, or at
Hmm.
least like fun to know. Um, they have their own currency, dirham. So you'll be able to should be able to order that from your bank in advance, or use your debit card when you're there and pull it out of an ATM.
That's what I've noticed. Really, every country is to go to ATM upon arrival and just withdraw cash,
Yep.
because and then just pay the ATM fee and then the bank fee instead of using those currency exchange places in the airports where they really take a higher fee out for the convenience.
Yeah, depending on where you live, like I live in Toronto, so there it's a big city and there's a lot of different currency exchange counters here where I can get a pretty good rate compared to the bank. But
Oh
if you
yeah.
live in a smaller city and you don't have that option, I know in the US I've had people tell me that they've ordered it online and somebody like drives it and delivers you the currency. Have you heard of this? This was somebody in I think New York or Vermont or something told me that they had that option.
Oh no. I mean, I'm here in Detroit. For Canadian, the best exchange rate in Windsor is go to the casino. And
And
oh yeah, you get a very obviously you have to park and walk a little bit, but that exchange rate is excellent. Whereas at the bridge or the tunnel, they take that fee out.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
That's
Usually,
interesting.
what I do before getting on the train to go to Toronto is go to the casino.
Smart.
Sounds like a good excuse just to go to the casino.
Yeah.
Nope, just to the
For you, your dollar.
currency exchange machine, and that's it.
Yeah, that would be dangerous. I'd probably be better off just paying the exchange rate instead of losing the money that I would have spent for it.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
I
ATM
spent
fees are usually like $5, so
Yeah.
it's not that
two
bad.
250. That's at least what mine charges, and then whatever the actual ATM is going to charge too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, usually I will recommend for people, so especially for this trip, like mostly everything is included. You just want to, depending on like if you're a big souvenir buyer, if you have plans to shop for things, you'll have to bring cash for that, and then just like a few of the extra meals or like snacks if you want or drinks. There's obviously not like a big alcohol culture in Morocco. Tourists can get it, but it's not really like a big huge thing. But I usually recommend bringing like not too much money, especially when it's something like Moroccan, where you're not going to be able to, like, you probably aren't going to use it again. So if you end up with a lot of leftover, it kind of sucks. So if you take out like a little bit at the beginning and you run out and you feel like you need cash, you can always go to an ATM when you're there and be able to take it out. And the
Hmm.
guys will be able to, and they'll warn people like, okay, for the next 2 days, we're in the desert. There's not going to be an ATM. If you need cash or something, like get it. Also, in a global world at the moment, you can use your credit card in many places. Obviously, not at the markets. So, if there is shopping that you want to do, then that would be something to factor in.
Yeah, and even having a credit card that doesn't get charged international
Yeah, that's really good.
transaction fees. Some are 1%, some are 3%. I've got one that I only use internationally for 0%.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
And I mean, leftover
Nice.
cash is also, you can always exchange it back. Like, obviously, you're losing a bit of money on doing exchange that way, exchange back, and you can't exchange coins. So that's something to keep in mind. Like, use up all your coins before the end of your trip, or you just end up with random coins. But otherwise, like, you can just exchange it back. So it's hard to figure out like exactly how much you're going to need and where they don't take cash and stuff. So
Nice. Hey, did you see Terry's
no.
question in the chat? Terry, the website was the itinerary link. That's the website that is the entire. I mean, you can go and look at all of the trips that she has on there, but that is the
Oh, here I can
website we're referring
think
to.
Morocco. Have any other details been shared? Oh, like in addition to what's on the website page, or just in addition to like what we've gone over? Um, Insurance, yeah, you need travel insurance. Highly recommended. I don't sell travel insurance, but I can recommend companies you can look into. I also always tell people to check with your credit card and with your work. And typically they don't make it very obvious, but because they want people to like pay premiums, but with like my credit card, I have like missed flight stuff, baggage loss, like all that kind of stuff. And then health I have with work. So anyone, if you have like any kind of insurance through your job, I would call them and ask them, like, explain what you're doing and then ask them if it covers the trip, or just read through their like manual. They usually give you a manual. You can read through that. Credit card, you can look up on their website if you check Google like the credit card that you have, and they tell you everything that's covered. So you should be able to. Most people are usually pretty covered between those two things. If not, then I can include in the info packet or just send it to you to share with everybody a couple of companies I can recommend.
What would you say a good rate is for that in your experience?
It really depends. Like you could just add, like, typically the two companies that I go with are usually the cheapest ones.
Mm.
I think you guys also have, do you have CAA, or um, maybe that's a Canadian one, but like Safety Wing is usually pretty good. It, like, this type of trip shouldn't be super like, it's usually when you're doing things that are what do they call them? Like life threatening, but like if you're skydiving, for example, or like
Okay.
any of those types of like extreme activities, then that drives your insurance up a bit. But You're
Hmm,
not, so we should be fine.
interesting.
It shouldn't be too expensive. But yeah, I would check first what you have between your credit card and your work insurance.
We're
Uh,
talking wait, like health insurance for abroad, like say you get sick and need coverage abroad.
yeah, and it would cover anything like if you check a bag and they lose it, then they would pay for you to replace all your stuff while you wait for your bag to be brought back. If your flight's delayed or canceled, they cover that or any additional expenses. So say you're flying home from Morocco and your flight is delayed till the next day, they would
Mhm.
pay for your hotel room that night. So things like
Oh,
so any types of like flight interruption, or I've had a situation like if you're too sick to get on the flight, like you're
I
really
thought, yeah, that was the like the flight. If they lose the bag, isn't that on the airline? Because that's happened to me where they've
yeah, but then sometimes, it's good to have insurance.
yeah. I'm just trying to think like double coverage. Obviously, you can really cash up big time if they do lose something. But yeah, like flight delays, um, you know, miss flight delayed, they put you in the airline always put me in a hotel. Actually last I had was in Toronto. Um, but the one that I'm always concerned about is, you get sick right before the trip and then can't go or anything, that's covered. That way you're not, you're refunded or they cover whatsoever.
Yeah, so if you have insurance and you have to rebook your flight because you're too sick to get on the flight either like that morning and you rebook for the evening or you rebook for the next day, they'll
Yeah.
cover you, they'll compensate you for those costs. Um,
Yeah.
Knock on wood, but if you did get sick on the trip or if you like, I don't know, broke your arm or like anything like that, then you'd want to be covered for that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I've done that too, where like booking plane tickets where I've added on the insurance
Mhm.
through the flight, like just looking at the fine print of what they cover and don't cover and
Yeah,
going from
or
there.
even like, I mean, I this won't happen on this trip. Like all these hotels have been vetted, but just for your future travel thinking, if things got stolen out of your hotel room, you want to make sure you're covered for that. Like your laptop, if it gets stolen out of your hotel room, if you have insurance, they'll help you with that. So yeah, things you don't really think about. Uh,
Yeah.
Real quick, just based off of the like, okay, if you get sick or whatever and you show up late, is that possible to like, how would someone who shows up late get to us if that was going to be the case?
I'll work with the on
So,
the ground team and get them there to meet you wherever you are.
okay, because we have also had some interest in people that maybe have a trip either at the tail end or beginning end that we're looking at maybe coming in late or leaving early. Is that something that you typically do, or are you pretty much like an all or nothing kind of?
It's not something I typically do. I wouldn't advise like you as the host to encourage that either. It does throw off
Mm,
the dynamic. Like if
okay.
everybody's there for 7 days and then one person joins on like day 6 or something, it throws off the group dynamic. Uh,
Mm,
if they're coming in a day late or leaving a day early, sure, it doesn't change their trip cost, but they can if they
mm,
want to. We can sort that out. Yeah, depending on. I think that would be a case by case basis we could look
yeah.
at.
Okay.
And then Terry said, "Are you organizing this or are you with a travel company?" It's my personal company, and I work with on the ground operators in different countries. So in Morocco, for example, and I manage all the logistics with them. So if yeah, anything that happens along the way, we have an on the ground team that's there for support. Everything's vetted. This fun fact, the company that I work with pays their guides more than any other company in Morocco. So they will not take you to like random places to try and sell you on things, which is a big issue in places like Egypt, Morocco, where they're like, oh, come see my uncle's carpet shop and I'll give you the best price. And they're like haggling you all the time. So they won't do that. If you ask them and you're like, I want this item, like what's a good price I should pay, they'll help you, but they're not going to try and like make commission off you at different places. And they're all paid a fair wage, the guides. They're all
Mm.
experienced. They know everything, so they're really good wealths of knowledge. I always find that is a better, more immersive experience of the country as well if you're able to chat with them about day-to-day life. I just find my guides like can figure out what people's personal interests are. Like mine are like scandals. So my like guide in Egypt was like, oh, did you know that this like pharaoh did this with this one and this one was married and like would tell me this stuff. And then other people on the trip were much more interested in like the actual ancient Egyptian history. So he would tell them that stuff. You can like they can tailor to your interests. That's nice to be in a small group too, where there's some room for flexibility as well. And you can kind of tailor those things based on what people are interested in. And yeah.
Do the cities have excuse me, do the cities have a lot of hustlers like they do in Peru and like Cusco and Lima?
More. I don't think Peru is anywhere near the level of like Northern Africa for that.
Oh, okay.
I found Cusco pretty mild for hustling. But that's the benefit of being with a group and guide. Like they won't, the guide will tell them like not to bother you. And when we were like when I was walking around with our guide in Egypt, I didn't even notice half the people that were trying to haggle us because he would say something to them and they would walk away. So you're in a bubble.
Okay. Yeah, per
If you engage in
Cusco.
conversation with them though, that's on you.
Cusco, they just everywhere. Paintings and lotion and sunglasses and anything you could think of, they're trying to sell you on the streets.
They are, but they're not as aggressive.
Okay.
They're quite aggressive and like I found like India very good. Like they're if you're walking away, they're like still saying stuff after you. So Morocco can be pretty Morocco can be pretty aggressive with that.
Okay.
Just the way taking care of business, that's the way they operate.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
But you don't want it to affect your trip. So it's nice to have a guide there with you and who also speaks the language and yeah, unless anyone's trying to brush up on their French and Arabic before the trip. But get some Duolingo weekly classes going before the trip.
I think was it Babbel just had a sale for their lifetime, which is the only way I ever see Babbel uh advertised. It's like buy this whole lifetime for $7 million.
That would hold you quite accountable, wouldn't it, though?
I well that or after like 3 months I forget I had it because I already paid for it. It's not coming out again. So
True. They need to be doing like monthly charge. So you're like, oh wait, I need to do my Arabic lesson.
all right, a little off topic, but hear me out. A company that you pay up front, and if you don't take the classes, then you don't get it back. But if you do all the classes and you learn the language, get your money back. A little more incentive, the same. If you guys, and any of you guys take that, you owe me half though, the same.
So they started doing at buffets. If you don't finish what's on your plate, they charge you for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's always good.
Like that's kind of how it should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just don't. Never mind. We got a tangent. And you got 3 minutes and 45 seconds left.
Yeah. This probably isn't a question tailored to like your group generally, but I also get a lot of people asking if it's okay that they're joining solo. And I would say like 96% of people join solo. And if they don't, then they're coming with a friend or a sibling. But the age range tends to be pretty similar, like 28 to 45. Most people join solo. So yeah, you would not be the only person there solo. I know with other group travel companies, people find that they're stuck with like a lot of couples or like a family. It's not really, I don't think that will pertain to this group and it doesn't generally happen. If you're coming solo, you're not alone.
Plus, after about 15 minutes, you'll have like 8 to 10 new friends. So
Exactly. There's some really cool rooftop places like restaurants to go in Marrakech. That will be really cool too. One of them will be like the goodbye dinner will be on a really, really nice rooftop. Um, we put a lot of heart and soul into this itinerary, so it's very, very good.
yeah, it shows. Looks like you definitely have it thought out. I especially like how you have everything with the local guides and like the
Mhm.
very. I mean, granted, I don't travel a ton, but it looks like um, the like the individualized, not individualized, like the little stuff like you're saying about having tea with the family in the thing, like that kind of stuff is the kind of stuff that I really love. So it's really cool that that's incorporated.
Yeah, you want to see like what their life is like and what what makes Morocco different than other places and what are the people like and what are their traditions and cultures and history, and especially for a place like Morocco, I think for us coming from North America, it can be a little bit difficult to understand their traditions oftentimes, in a lot of ways, which is a bigger conversation to get into. But I think learning from people firsthand and seeing how they live and how their history influenced what their life is like now really opens your eyes. And maybe you don't agree with some of their values, but you can understand where they're coming from and you have empathy for them. So I think it's important to see that and learn that.
Agreed.
And it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Not all learning.
I could see it in Canada.
Yeah,
Yeah. Life is, people aren't as it's not the Wild West like America. I mean, US and Canada is the Wild West of the world, but big difference. To me, things are just less pretentious and more just laid back on
yeah.
the Canadian
Oh, I
side.
don't know if I'd describe Toronto as laid back, but
Not Toronto. Definitely not Toronto. Toronto's the
bigger
big
places.
city.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I think this
Hey
is going
guys.
to close soon, so, but we can continue this conversation another time or chat more whenever you want.
Yeah, I probably share this as soon as you have some video stuff, and then I'm probably gonna make some other videos, both shorter and longer form for this as well.
Okay.
And I'm sure we'll touch base with these guys and hopefully quite a few others. So thank
Cool.
you for your time.
Yeah,
Appreciate
of
it.
course. Happy to chat anytime.
And if any other guys have any other questions, shoot me a message and then we can address it either via message or in this or other videos. So
All
yeah,
right. Sounds good. Have a good
awesome.
night.
Thank